In my experience, there's no such thing as luck. It is a skill issue because what most of you think is luck when people make money online, they make passive income, or they build an online business, the thing that people call luck is usually just people not disclosing unfair advantages they had, a network that they had access to, or a mentor who gave them the privilege of fast tracking their career for them. Most people do not own a lot of these undisclosed advantages and will not tell you about them. And then it makes people who are on the outside looking in feel like they're doing something wrong. It doesn't give them a realistic pathway to success, and it doesn't take into account how long it actually takes to develop your skills, be able to demonstrate value, and to build your own network if you can't be gifted one as a Nepo baby. Now, in my case, I didn't have those unfair advantages. I'm somebody who didn't get a 4-year degree. I'm somebody who came from a small military town. About 12 years ago, I was only making about $35,000 a year working a 9-to-5 job as a marketing manager. And this is back in the old days, back in my day, when, especially if you worked in a small town, and those of you who are elder millennials like me, you'll remember that you just were grateful to have a job after the Great Recession. So there wasn't some leverage that I had. And when I decided that I wanted to go my own way, I wanted to start a one-person business, that was something that I was only able to do because of all the skills that I had built along the way. And this is something very important. So I'm going to help you develop some of these skills, understand what it actually takes. And there's really 4 main areas of focus that are going to work for you. Now, just to put it out there so you understand, I've been documenting my journey online for over a decade as somebody who started as a full-time freelancer, doing an agency of one, someone who had a background in traditional graphic design, advertising, as well as sales and marketing, and then somebody who went on to build a successful career as a content creator and public speaker. This allowed me to literally 10x my income before taxes and expenses, mind you, and be able to build a 6-figure business after taxes and expenses. And I've done a lot of deep dives, breakdowns, live income reports on the YouTube channel if you want to dig into that and verify my claims. The important thing for you watching this video is not to duplicate my exact path, but to understand the systems that helped me get where I am and the skill sets that you have to be able to offer in order to make real money online, and why it's so important for you to develop your own network and the ability to negotiate sales. So I'm really going to only focus on 4 main things, and I'm going to explain some of my own background here because it's what took me from broke and struggling to successful and thriving. It let me get to a place to where I moved from being a one-person business and working myself to death to be able to be in a position where I was able to hire family, and then I was able to hire contractors to be able to lessen that load and to be able to take my life back. I'm 40 years old. I basically had to grind ever since I was 16 years old. So this is not get rich quick. If anything, it's get comfortable really freaking slow. But if I had known what I know now, obviously it would have worked out a lot faster for me. So now that we've got all of the disclaimers out of the way and people cannot whine about it in the comment section, we can move on to the 4 things that actually matter for you. You need to develop a valuable skill set so you have something to offer people. A lot of you are going to hopefully get this by having a career or a job or a trade that you can then go your own way and translate and get that to the market so your employer can stop taking the majority of that value and it can go to you as the person creating the value. So that's going to be very important for you. You need to be able to develop systems so that you can do that work more effectively and efficiently. Your success will rise or fall based on the systems that you have. You need to become a better speaker and communicator so that you have the ability to demonstrate your value. Instead of just creating value, you have to be able to demonstrate it. And then you need sales and marketing skills because this is going to allow you to be able to negotiate and understand what you're worth and be able to get that pricing. The other thing is the marketing side of it is going to be able to allow you to create inbound opportunities when you're not able to network and build relationships in person. So that is going to allow you scale, and that's how you're going to go from one-to-one to one-to-many, and that's where the real money is. If you've ever wondered how people make money online and passive income and why it's not a scam and why they can out-earn people with a 9-to-5 job, it really comes down to the fact that they have the benefit of scale. And so that means one-to-many instead of one-to-one. When you work for an employer, it's a one-to-one relationship and you only get paid from that one person. If you had the same value in the marketplace though, and you own all of it, I mean, I'll give you a primary example. Of all the money you make your employer, what percentage do you get? Is it 1% of all the dollars that you've generated? Is it 10% of all the dollars that you've generated? What amount of money are you creating for your employer? And what amount of money are you getting in return? So if you look at it like that, the first move is to go directly to the marketplace and become that one person business. Now, when you do that, you're getting your full value again, minus anything you have in terms of cost and expenses. But then the next thing is sales and marketing, if you built your systems correctly, is going to allow you to be in a position where you're getting multiple clients, multiple offers, multiple leads, and now you can go ahead and distribute that value to more than one person. If you're able to then create other systems where maybe you're developing a productized version of your service, you're setting up retainer clients, you're doing these things, then you're going to be able to exponentially increase the amount of money that you generate, and you still have the same skill sets that you were providing to an employer. That's basically how it works. Let's start with high income skills. The reason that I was able to build a one-person business is because I had some very specific software skills. Since I'm a nerd, I didn't have to worry about this in a way because I naturally was drawn to technology and learning Photoshop even as a teenager. And so that really helped me a lot. And I developed the skills for graphic design, video editing, print design, building websites and doing coding. So that gave me the way in my early 20s to start a white collar career and get out of retail. I'm grateful for the retail experience though, because it helped me as an introvert to get more comfortable with speaking to strangers and develop the gift of gab and to be able to haggle and negotiate. So that became very important when I started working with my own clients. It became important when I became a content creator for negotiating my own brand deals and contracts and being able to source them. So that was incredibly helpful to not only have the software skills, but to have the sales skills. And so I owe a lot to a career in retail. If there are young people watching this, don't stay in retail. But if you can get into retail, you want a sales position. If you can do commission sales, it will help sharpen you, and that will definitely help you develop a foundational skill set that makes you a high earner later if you have more to offer. So the cool thing about things like graphic design and mastering software, like I mastered the Adobe suite, was really into it. The cool thing about this is that there are people with a lot of money. There are people in advertising, marketing, business owners, people with budgets who don't have a lot of time, and sometimes themselves, they're only good at one or two things, so they don't have the skills they need to package what they have. And so you could have the best service in the world, but if you have a really crappy website, it's harder to sell that than if you have a good looking website. If you have a really good product or service, but your competitor just looks more prestigious, their stuff just looks more attractive than yours. Again, Apple was a great example of this. They don't always make the best product in the world, but man, if they don't have the best packaging in the world, they don't have the best advertising in the world. That is a key that helps someone stand out in the market. And basically every business owner understands this. So they do value anything that helps them with their own sales and marketing. In a modern world, skills like copywriting and email marketing help people sell things. Google Ads helps people sell things. Same thing for Facebook ads, TikTok ads, Instagram ads, all of that stuff. So advertising, right? Anything that's sales and marketing, anything that's advertising, that's going to be useful. Anything that's design and packaging, that's going to be useful. Content creation in terms of video production, video editing, photography, these are useful skill sets, and these were the skill sets I had and was developing ever since I was a teenager, and then I developed them further throughout my 20s and 30s. And because I was able to take these skills, I was able to find people who were already paying for this kind of thing and who had a budget, and I was able to get them to pay me as clients. This is something I was able to do after I left my 9-to-5 job where I was doing it, where I got more mentorship, more learning, more access to technology, and I got to play with other people's budgets. Those things helped me develop experience that made me more effective and made me more confident to be able, when I did decide to go my own way, be a freelancer and be an agency of one, I was able to do that more effectively. The same thing for my salesmanship. My sales and marketing skills were developed on the job. I developed more sales skills in retail, but I also developed it when I was working in the industry. At one point, I actually worked at an ad agency. One of the best experiences in my life. I worked at an ad agency in Midtown Manhattan. We did OOH, which is out of home advertising, billboards, wild postings, direct mail campaigns. We did that, and we worked specifically with cable broadcast companies. So this would be Madison Square Garden, Big Ten Network, WeTV, HBO Boxing. My boss at the time, he had a great relationship with Eric Kessler, who is the president of HBO. And so we were always going to get work because they went to synagogue together and they were golfing buddies. So networking relationships was something I learned were very important, that if you have contacts at places. The VP of sales, he actually used to work at Madison Square Garden. So everybody that he trained up and everyone he mentored was later in a position that had control over budgets, and he was able to help us bid for that work more easily. So again, the networking relationships, and this is why it becomes important to refine your speaking and your presentation skills. And so one of the things I learned from pitching in meetings and doing spec work and doing all these things when I worked at the ad agency, I was taught the value of network relationships and how important it is to be able to speak and do pitches. And that became important not only for getting my own clients later when I need to do that, building my network, becoming a paid public speaker, but it became important as a content creator, thought leader, influencer, whatever you want to call it. It became important in that regard because that was also how I was going to get my sponsored brand deals, which is probably the majority of my income these days is sponsored brand deals. And then on top of that, it became important for things like collaborations. It became important for my own clients and everything I needed to do there. And networking relationships are incredibly valuable in another way, in the fact that when somebody leaves that job, if you maintain a good relationship with them and then they go to another company, they will want to work with someone who they know, like, and trust. And so when they need to deliver, they'll partner with you. And that happened to me quite a few times. I have friends in the industry who've moved between 3 or 4 companies, and they've brought me brand deals for every company that they've worked at. So the networking piece in terms of the relationships and learning how to be a good communicator so that you can build your network, incredibly important. I think networking is something I should do a dedicated video on at some point so more of you can learn it. If that's something you're interested, let me know in the comment section. But networking is only valuable if you also have something to offer the people in your network. That's why I recommend learning things like software, because the majority of people will not have the discipline to master a software. They might dabble in it. So if you can be above average in any software, then you'll do really well. And the funny thing about that is you can become above average if you spend about 20 to 40 hours dedicated to learning and practicing with a software. This is something that most people don't do. Even if they go to college, they will do only what's required for a project. The same thing for a lot of people who do a lot of lower level freelance work, do lower level contracting. A lot of them, they will do things or learn things when they need to because they're being paid, but they will not learn this in their free time. Fortunately for me, I was very passionate about these things and having these skills and was very entertained by it. So I spent more time on this than I spent playing video games or watching TV or streaming. For me, this was actually enjoyable. So that was, I would guess you could call that an unfair advantage, that I just naturally gravitated toward tech and media. But just because that was my personality doesn't mean you can't duplicate that and that you can't push yourself a little harder. It's also easier to enjoy something when you make money at it. So you could be good at it and that can make you enjoy it. You could genuinely be passionate about it. You could like the attention it gives you, or you can like the money that it brings you. Any of those can be enough motivation to do this. What I would say is if somebody dedicates 50 to 100 hours just to learning and practicing their software skills, for example, if it's graphic design, you practice that. And I would say learn to mimic the techniques of work that you would want to do that you know people pay for. So for me, that was graphic design and that was video editing. I taught myself the video editing techniques and special effects and things that were used in the paid work that I was seeing people pay for, things I saw that we as an agency would contract other people for. It's like if we paid somebody for a skill, I tried to learn that skill and I tried to mimic their techniques and their style so that I could duplicate it and so I could learn it perfectly. So I would highly recommend that skills, if you want high income skills, The ones that I would list out that I made really good money with were copywriting. That one's a big one, especially now with email marketing and copywriting. I would pair email marketing with that. I would say graphic design, whether it's digital or print. If you can learn both, you should. I learned both. Incredibly valuable to me down the road. I would say that if you could do with a subcategory of print design, it's very useful to know special formats for print and publications and for self-publishing. If you can help people who you specialize with regard to, they write books, they write novels. If you can do the not only book cover design, but do the internal formats for their book, people pay a lot of money for that. I actually self-published a book. It's called Create Something Awesome. It's on Amazon. Part of the reason I bring this up is because I paid another graphic designer to work with me on this so that I could focus all my energy on writing the book. And I helped with mocking up some of the basic design, but I did pay really good money in terms of the design services around this. I think it was like somewhere between, I want to say $1,000 to $1,500 I paid in design services. Don't regret a single dollar of it, but that's an opportunity for somebody. And that's just one gig, one client. You get a lot of clients like that in a month and make really good money if that's your specialty. You can also have add-on services for a client who needs that sort of thing. There's things you can upsell them on that can take that from being a $1,500 gig to being a $2,500 gig. So when I was doing freelance work and I had multiple skills that I could offer, what you want to look for is you want to look at having 3 to 5 clients, and you want to be in a position where you can charge $1,500 to $2,500 for your skills, and you want to only pitch this to people who have a budget. So they have an existing business, it's a thriving business, and you can tell that they're already paying somebody that's not you for the same services. So I've hired maybe 150 freelancers, 150 contractors over the last 12 years myself. I hired some as well when we worked at the agency. I hired some when I did the marketing at the other company. And so in the hiring chair, I would say that what we look for when we hire people, especially at these price points, is we look for a body of work and a portfolio, obviously. Sometimes we'll ask for references, but a lot of times the body of work will sell it for us. If you can deliver on what we're looking for, that's good enough. We might want some references. What we're not going to look at, we're not going to look at your college credentials and your degrees. Now, obviously for the Fortune 500 companies, the big boy brands, sure, they might care about that. They might use that as gatekeeping, but there's always someone who either is a contractor or an employee that didn't have to get all that credentialism. And that's because they were able to network and someone was able to vouch for them. So again, your ability to make contacts and have a network will be more important than your credentials because you need to be in the circle of trust, and most opportunities go through the circle of trust. You can benefit from networking nepotism as well. You don't have to be somebody from the right family or for the Ivy Leagues. That does help, but I would say that just being able to deliver and demonstrate value, develop your speaking abilities and the gift of gab, and be able to be genuinely interested in people and them being able to see that you align and that you're better off helping each other than not, those things will take you further than most people realize. So this is client services work, obviously. It doesn't scale as easily as something else like memberships, subscriptions, affiliate marketing, digital products, online courses, or even online content. I'll get to that later. But the foundation layer is being able to demonstrate value and being able to charge money for that. That's probably the easiest way to start getting to where on your own, you can either earn extra money in addition to your job, or you can earn the money to leave your job like I did, is just going into the freelance services by doing client work. Or if you have a credential of some kind and you have industry expertise, you could become a consultant. If you have a specialized skill and you do have the credentials of a degree or something equivalent to that, maybe it's a certification, you could go into the realm of contracting and consulting. If you have, for example, there are certain certificates that people need, and that becomes very important. And so you can go into the consulting side, but if you also have mastered how to get the certificate and how to pass the test more easily, you can also sell a digital product and info product around test prep materials to get your certifications. In my case, it'd be things like Adobe for the ACE certifications. My friend Pat Flynn, when he was an architect, it was the LEEDS certification for architecture, and he was able to make a test prep guide around that. So that's actually very common, and that's actually really practical, because some of you, it's not much more of a software skill set, but it's a knowledge base, and you can commoditize that both as a service and as a product. And that would allow you to scale. But you can get to a full-time income making money online by just offering services. And like I said, you have to get to a point to where you can package about $1,500 to $2,500 service packages, whatever your deliverables are, and you need 3 to 5 retainer clients. And if you do that, that's going to put you in a good position. The over under on that, the min max on that would mean that if it's $1,500 and you have 5 clients, it's $7,500 a month. That puts you close to 6 figures. On the low end of that, if it's 3 clients at $1,500, you're making $4,500 a month, which is going to roughly get you just below $60,000 a year. It's going to be about, I think, $54,000 a year, something like that. So you're still not bad off. You're at about the median income for America, and you're doing it all on your own, and it could go up from there. If you are at 3 clients at $2,500, then you're at $7,500. If you're at 5 clients at, that $2,500 a month, you're definitely making 6 figures a year, because at that point you're making over $10,000 a month. 6 figures is $8,800 a month before taxes. So that would put you basically where you want to be with a one-person business, client services. You just have to be able to fulfill and deliver on that. You have to offer value, demonstrate value, and then you have to exchange that value. That's basically what the flywheel is for making money online, at least at the services level. But you are going to need to be able to get organized and put systems in place where you can do all of that. And one of the most important systems that people have to put in place for that, besides how they deliver and fulfill their stuff, is the systems for being able to get clients. So you're either going to do prospecting, where you're going to hunt for those clients. You're going to put yourself in a position where you do in-person networking, or you're going to have to do direct outreach. Then that's where those skills, like being able to communicate well, both in terms of your oral communication and your written communication, that's going to be incredibly necessary to be able to get those opportunities. If you're trying to do inbound, then it's going to be probably some combination of that, but also you might have to create content to do inbound marketing if you don't have money for advertising. When I worked at the other company doing the marketing, I was giving an advertising budget. I became Google AdWords certified. So again, if you get a certification like that, you could teach that directly to people one-on-one. You could teach people that in a group or do workshops if you're certified in something. You also could sell that as a test prep guide so people can pass the certification the first time. And so people would be willing to pay for that. People do it all the time. People buy SAT prep guides for the same reason. So there is a component of that in traditional education. It's not just online education or anything like that. So that's an option when you learn those kind of things. Now, for me, the interesting thing about this was, since I had that background with ad buying and buying media, being a media buyer at a company, I bought the digital ads, but I also bought the print ads. So that was for, again, things like magazines, billboards, in terms of that advertising. Depending on the company and what the budget is, you can do that. I was given about $250,000 a year budget to be in charge of. I wish that I had been paid a percentage of that budget. If you run your own digital agency, whatever your clients are paying, you would normally also directly take 10% of the budget plus your service fees for managing the account. That's typically what it is for a lot of agencies that manage digital ads. But as an employee, you don't get that. You don't really get a cut of what you make for the company unless you have a sales commission. But what you have to understand is that even advertising is you building your systems. A lot of times in sales and marketing, we'll call a lot of these things funnels, but really is what is my system for getting leads? What is my system for generating leads? So lead generation. And then I need systems in place in addition to my sales skills to be able to turn those leads into sales, turn them into customers. So that's called conversion. So within a funnel, top of funnel is how do I get people's attention? So what am I doing? Am I doing direct marketing? Am I doing in-person networking? Am I doing content marketing? Am I doing paid advertising? Am I doing SEO, search engine optimization? Something I did at the company, something I did as a web designer, something I did as a content creator was SEO. So how am I getting those leads? So that's the top of the funnel. Then, okay, once I have those leads, how am I capturing the contact information? Am I exchanging numbers with people at an event or conference? So am I doing that in person? Did I buy a list or buy access to a list from somewhere? Did I build my own email list by exchanging free value, having a newsletter community, or offering a free digital download of some kind? Or did I manage somehow to do a direct sale from online advertising or a direct sale by driving traffic to my website? So you turn a lead into a sale. This is all done because they have to know who you are. So that's where the top of the funnel comes in. Hey, I don't know you. Now I know you. Okay, now do I like you and trust you? So did you do something up front that builds your authority? Do I like you because of your authenticity? What's my reason for going from I don't know you to I know you, I like you, and now I trust you. And now I'm going to do this transaction. So the flywheel that I use for this is traffic, trust, transaction. You have to generate traffic, you have to establish trust, and then you have to offer something of value that justifies a transaction based on that trust. So that is basically how I establish it. That's the system that I use, and you will rise or fall to the quality of your systems. Now, thankfully, because I had a background in working for somebody else's business, in someone's organization, I was able to learn about how to establish systems, how to set up standard operating procedures, how to build and establish networking relationships that were going to be important long term. There was a lot of on the job experience I benefited from that is hard to come by otherwise. Something I decided to do when I started my journey as a content creator was I shared my freelancing experience, and I showed while I was doing it how I was building my one-person business. And I felt like that was important because if I'd had access to that free information earlier on, I could have been successful. As it is, I got my skills because of the early internet more than 20, 25 years ago. I taught myself how to code at 13 years old in the days of AOL. Do you guys remember AOL 7.0, AOL 6.0? You got mail. All of that stuff, AIM, that whole thing. I learned in the early primitive days of the internet, I learned how to code from a book and from a website called webmonkey.com. And I learned HTML3, life-changing for me. It was very important. And so because I learned a lot of these things online on my own for free and also from affordable books, it was kind of the thing that would inspire me to say, well, even with the free information out there, not all of it was taught the way that I would have best learned. I did learn it, but what would have made that easier for me? Or what would have made me more comfortable or not made me feel like I was being talked down to? Or what would have been a better way of communicating that so I could understand it? And so I wanted to be the thing that would have benefited a younger version of myself, if that makes sense. I think that when people are skeptical about a lot of things with online business, they don't understand that beyond money, a lot of it is driven by, yes, altruistic things like purpose. But if you want a non-BS, non-altruistic reason of why someone would share all the information, all the secrets they learn on free for the internet, or even why they're going to paywall it with a course, I'll tell you the actual reason. And the actual reason has a lot to do with ego and just how fulfilling it is and how much pride you take in the fact that you take somebody who didn't have a skill or an ability and you teach them, you mentor them in some way, even remotely, and you watch the transformation that happens and know that that's something that you did and were involved with. Yes, they did the work, but you might have planted a seed and now you saw that seed become a tree. There is something incredibly gratifying in that. And I don't think it's altruistic. I think it's egotistical, and I think that's okay. I think a healthy amount of ego in wanting to see that is actually something very good. In martial arts, you can only be the grand champion for so many years. The answer to that is to leave a legacy of having the greatest dojo, Cobra Kai. So yeah, you want to be the Cobra Kai dojo or Miyagi-Do. So that would be the whole thing. Shout out to all the 80s kids who actually know that reference. It's also not truly enabling your competition, because that's a criticism people have. Because while knowledge is important, it's not nearly as important as actually having the skills to deliver and execute on that knowledge. There are so many people who will consume free information, books, online courses, and never execute. So knowledge isn't as important as execution is. You would need both. But beyond that, it's not useful without people to deliver the value to. And I'm an introvert, so I understand that a lot of people struggle with networking. If you do not build a network and you cannot generate leads and you don't have that capability, or you don't partner with someone who does, the knowledge doesn't really matter as much and you don't have anyone to execute for. Another realistic part of it is that someone who gains knowledge over the course of a year doesn't have the resources that their mentor built and accumulated over the course of 10, 20 years, or their reputation. For example, even if I gave someone all of my knowledge, there are things they just don't have that make me faster and make my outputs a little bit better than theirs. And that might be the access to higher levels of equipment, faster equipment that makes it easier to just produce. But then also the reality is manpower. Having a team is something that is hard to duplicate for a beginner. Even with all the knowledge in the world, they don't have the money and resources to hire other people for their skills, their labor, and their contributions. So when it comes down to it, if somebody has been doing what they do for 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years, just handing someone all of the knowledge they accumulated would not be the same as handing them their resources, their network, the lived experience of doing the thing, or the body of work and reputation that they've built over a long period of time. So you can't really enable a true competitor, because ultimately, Father Time beats all. There's not really a way to close that gap for most people. There would probably be exceptions to that rule, but I would just argue time, resources, connections, and relationships, that's not something you can duplicate just by teaching someone. You can hand those things down to a successor. If you handed off your business to your eldest child, for example, that would be a way of them genuinely shortcutting that in record time. And that's where family businesses are important. For me, for example, my first hires were family members. So my brother and sister work with me. I have 3 siblings, 2 of them work with me. I have somebody who's been working with me since 2018. Andy, she is a longtime friend. And so I feel that to a degree, close-knit small teams of people that you know, like, and trust end up creating tremendous value that is very hard for someone to duplicate who's not in that position. Either they don't have a family that they can work with and rely on, or they don't have people that they've known for a long time that they would trust with their business and what they've built, and that can work in these frictionless relationships. That's not something everyone has. So that gap is very hard for a lot of people to close. And no amount of teaching or online learning or even paywall learning can make up for those kind of things. So hopefully that makes sense for a lot of you. It's also why it's important to develop the capacity for building relationships and networking, which is going to come down to communication. I usually just call it speaking because it fits into my framework of skills, speaking, sales, and systems. So I just get 4 S's out of it. I like alliteration, so that's why I do it. And those are the components that would be necessary to succeed. Now let's move on to the passive income side of this, because you do understand at this point how online business works and how making money online works specifically. But the thing a lot of people get frustrated with is this phrase passive income. I would love for the SEO to take over to where automated income was the phrase that everyone started using. It's not going to happen. But I do think now with things like ChatGPT and online automation becoming something the everyday person understands a little bit better, that they can start to see how passive income would work. Now, passive income is not about doing nothing. It's about something that puts you in the position to do less and get more. So you could refer to this as automated income at scale, and it would be more accurate. But that doesn't quite roll off the tongue like passive income. It's not as attractive, and it will not get as many clicks on YouTube or social media. That's just how it is. So if you're wondering why people call it passive income, even though it's wildly inaccurate to use that terminology, it's because it gets clicks. Just like everything else in social media is done for only one reason. It gets clicks. Told you this was going to be brutally honest and it was going to be no BS. Now, passive income has existed for a very long time. It's just people don't understand. Every one of these books on this shelf is generating people passive income. There are books on this shelf who are feeding families 3 generations after the person who writ them are dead. You don't get much more passive than that. So that is a form of passive income called royalty income. Everybody who has ever made a YouTube video, if they have a monetized channel, saying there's no such thing as passive income, made passive income off of everyone they told there was no such thing as passive income. And that's because YouTube pays ad revenue. After you've published the video, you could do no work for 2 or 3 years, and as long as that video is still getting views, it is displaying ads from advertisers, and the YouTuber is getting money for that. Usually, on average, $2 to $8 for every 1,000 views if it's a long-form video and not a YouTube short. So, anybody telling you there's no such thing as passive income monetized you and made passive income. You're welcome. I've made almost 2,000 videos on YouTube. I've made 1,600 for this channel. I think 1,300 of them are public because we make some members only content. And what I can tell you is that from YouTube ads over the years, on about 40 million views, I've made about $330,000 on 40 million views over the years. That's just the ad revenue. That's not the Amazon affiliate links. That's not the software as a service affiliate links. That is basically everything the YouTube Partner Program gives me. And it's not my sponsorships with brands that I've worked with. And it's not sales on any digital products. That's literally hundreds of thousands of dollars of truly passive income from the YouTube Partner Program. And so content creators tend to try to do this for that reason. Now, since I've been doing YouTube a very long time, what that averages out to is about $30,000 to $40,000 a year, depending on the year and depending on how many videos I make. Now, if I were making the amount of videos I used to make, it would actually be about $10,000 a month, because when I don't publish any content to my channel or I only live stream once a week, the channel still makes about $2,000 to $2,500 on about 100,000 views. And so that would be with less than 50 videos published in a year. What I used to do is, in my peak, I used to publish about 150,000 videos a year. That would get me anywhere from 80 to 100,000 new subscribers every year. You don't get paid for subscribers, though. You get paid for views. That would generate between 6 and 8 million views a year. But I was making less ad revenue per view back then. I make more ad revenue per view now. It's about 2 to 3 times. So I would make more money. If I were getting, let's say, 500,000 views a month, if I got 500,000 views a month because of how the advertisers pay me, if you look at 100, 125,000 making me 2,000, 2,500, you could see how I'd get to about $8,000 to $10,000 in just pure YouTube Partner Program revenue from my ad revenue. So that would move me to making 100,000 a year. This is where quality versus quantity from the passive income side on YouTube kind of comes into play. More creators generally benefit from quantity and not quality. Quality works for the few creators that are above 1 million plus subscribers. They can go quality over quantity. The far majority of creators know that they need more ad inventory regardless of views. And since you can't guarantee views, you are better off making more videos, and some of them will be outliers. Videos don't get views on YouTube because of quality. They get it because of packaging. They get it because of topic, title, thumbnail, and timing. Now, the other benefit of quantity and where this scales for the passive income conversation is that you see how you can get a lot of money from ad revenue making content. What you don't think about is that you can do all kinds of content. I did tech content on YouTube, and that helped me with my initial because when you're doing freelance stuff and people are freelancers, they actually need the gear. They need a good laptop. A lot of them will need a good camera. You'll need video editing software. If you're doing the things I was doing, it's graphic design, video editing, photography. So you need hardware and software. Hardware and software from an affiliate marketing side, the sales commissions on that are fabulous, actually. So from an affiliate marketing side, for you to understand how affiliate marketing works, instead of thinking, oh my God, affiliate marketing is a scam, what you have to understand is it's what we talked about earlier. When you do affiliate marketing, you get a percentage of the money you make the company. So unlike in an employee-employer situation where the value you create, you don't really get a proportional percentage cut of it. Let's say you got 10% of all the money you've ever made your boss. Would you be really happy right now? Let's say it was 20 or 30%. Would you be really happy right now if for every dollar you made your boss, you got like 10, 20, 30% of that? If the answer is yes, then affiliate marketing makes sense to you now and it's not a scam. Because with affiliate marketing, instead of getting a salary, it's just commission sales. So the primary example of this is, let's say I sell one of my fancy camera lenses because I did a lot of camera review stuff. People don't understand why this works. Just with Amazon alone, if I sold a fancy camera lens to you, I sold a 24 to 70 millimeter Sony G Master lens, and you paid like $2,000 for this on Amazon. Amazon is going to give me a commission for that sale if I use my Amazon influencer program affiliate link. So if I use that tracking link and you click on one of my videos, let's say I only got 5,000, 10,000 views on that video because it's a really expensive camera lens. People would clown me for that, but I would make $90 for every commission, meaning everyone who clicks on that link in my video description and buys that camera lens because of me, Amazon would attribute that sales commission to me, and I would make $90 for every one of those camera lens sales. So even with small views and not making as much on the ad revenue, I would make more on the affiliate commissions. When people do product reviews, for example, this is where they make their money. Now, not every category is as good as camera lenses and tech and laptop sales. Even with entry-level laptops, you make like $20 to $30 every commission. And this is with laptops that do $500 and $600 laptops even. Budget laptops was a big category for me when I was starting out as a small YouTuber. And so doing roundups of budget laptops for video editors and graphic designers and photographers, I was doing really well for that. When I was a small creator, I was making maybe $1,500 a month in Amazon commissions alone, not counting the software commissions, just on Amazon. When I was a small creator, I was living in North Carolina. Rent was $960 on a 3-bedroom house. You can't really get those rates today. This is just back in my day. So you could see why that was really good for me. That was really lucrative. And then I was getting clients on top of that. So it wasn't very hard for me to live. It took me 4 years after leaving my job to make 6 figures. It took about 3-4 years for me to make 6 figures after leaving my job in terms of making money online. But you can see how I was able to make that work and able to do that because I was in a low cost of living area. Today, I live in Georgia. Georgia's also low cost of living. So it's not California, it's not New York. That's why with me making like $160 after taxes and expenses does very well for me because I live in Georgia, where it is low cost of living compared to New York and California, and where it's a low tax state since the taxes here are about like 6.5% taxes. Now, you do have to pay self-employment tax, which is 15%, but you can't really get out of that. So, you can make it less with your accountants if you structure in a certain way, but it's a topic for another video. My point is, there are so many legitimate ways to make passive income. All this comes down to is value creation. Traffic is valuable, trust is valuable, and transactions are obviously valuable. So using that flywheel is how I've approached all of this. So When you drive traffic to YouTube, that benefits YouTube as a platform and benefits advertisers. Now, because you've done that and you keep doing that and people know, like, and trust you, the transaction that's really happening here is a passive transaction. Even if people don't buy anything, you accomplished what a brand wanted in terms of a video play delivering an ad. That was the transaction between you, the platform, and the advertisers. YouTube takes 45% of the ad dollars paid by the advertiser. You, as the creator, get 55%. And this is on long form videos, not short form videos. And that's how creators make their money. And that's why that is passive income. This ends up on your taxes as royalty income. Royalty income, just like books, ends up being a form of passive income. Now, for me, every time someone buys one of my books, which I wrote in, when did I write this? 2022, I think. So I wrote this book and published it, I think, in 2022. So that means that whenever someone buys my book, Create Something Awesome on Amazon, what happens is, with all of the Amazon fees and the fact that I have a 70-30 split on royalties with Amazon, and after all the printing and shipping and everything, I make about a $6 to $7 commission on the paperbacks. I make about an $8 commission on the hardcover edition, and I make about $6.50 on the $9.99 Kindle edition book. So that happens every time someone buys it on Amazon. I set up Ingram Spark as a self-publisher, and so it's distributed to Barnes & Noble, Target, and all these other places, and Apple Books. And so whenever anyone does that, I also make money on it that way. When I finish the audiobook, I think that the commission I make on the audiobook be closer to $10 or $12 for every sale of that. So when, assuming the audiobook is $19.99, and then, or whatever people do in terms of the Audible program with the credits, I would still get a commission equivalent for that. I believe the commission would be like $10. Oh, and then I can also pair that with my Amazon influencer link and then make money on top of it that way and double dip. So that's how this works when it comes to passive income. Is you can make ad revenue, you can make affiliate commission sales on regular physical products, but then there's affiliate commissions on digital products. And so for me, what I did was I did affiliate commissions on software as a service, because as you already know, I use things like Adobe software, Photoshop, InDesign, Premiere Pro, After Effects. I use Adobe software. There's a lot of other software I use. I've done software tutorials on my channel. I didn't grow to 100,000 subscribers teaching people how to grow to 100,000 subscribers. I actually got to 100,000 subscribers teaching everything I know about the freelance skills you need to build your career or an online business and go solo, be a one-person business. I taught all of that. And I started with teaching the software skills before I taught the sales and marketing skills and what you need to do to develop your portfolio, and answered a lot of those questions about being in the industry and how to get a job if you want to go that way, or be a freelancer and go your own way and get clients, and how to find, source your clients, sell your clients, price yourself, negotiate your rates, build your own website, all those things. So I taught everything I knew, and I made 800 videos, which is a lot of work. You cannot say that it was lazy or anything. It was 800 videos that I had to shoot, edit, and slave over, and I had to make all the thumbnails myself. I did everything myself, 800 videos. I did that in about a 3-year period, doing nearly daily content, batch recording videos, agonizing work. So I put in thousands of hours in order to accomplish that, just based on the sheer volume of content. The good news is it also made my skills better. It made me sharper. It made me more effective. It made me build better systems. And that was very helpful. It helped me learn a lot more about hardware, about audio and lighting and camera gear. So it was the learning experience of a lifetime, honestly. But what I also learned was that when you have all this inventory of videos out there, all of these videos are clones, basically. So these videos all have the capacity to go out there and help me find new people that will subscribe to my channel, build new relationships, and every video is a one-to-many relationship that will feel like a one-to-one relationship to the viewer. And every one of those videos has the ability not only to earn me ad revenue, but Amazon affiliate commissions through the links in the description. When I started selling my own products, my own digital download products, it gave me that ability as well. But one of the most lucrative things it ever did for me in terms of passive income and making money online was the software affiliate commissions. Because software affiliate commissions, for those of you who don't know, pay 20, 30, or even 50%. And it pays you every single month for the lifetime of those accounts if that's the deal. So in my case, and I've openly talked about this and made videos of this, I got to a point to where at my peak, I was making nearly $100,000 a year from affiliate commissions alone between Amazon and my software as a services affiliate links. At peak, I think I was making 22 to 25,000 from Amazon alone at my peak. When I had a lot of tech content and camera reviews out there. Camera and laptop reviews were my bread and butter. They also did end up changing some things in the Amazon influencer program. Some of it makes you more money, some of it makes it less money, depending on what category you're in. Tech was one of the least affected categories, so that actually helped me. Doesn't do as well for some people in tech. Lifestyle creators in the beauty space that cater to a large female audience can make a crap ton more money on Amazon than I could ever dream of, to be honest with you. I'll do some dedicated videos about the 10 ways you can make money with Amazon because a lot of people don't understand it. And the Amazon influencer program actually has ways for you to make money without even making YouTube videos, just making product review videos on Amazon. And most people don't know about it and don't know about the commission structure there. YouTube made a competing affiliate program called YouTube Shopping now that has tag affiliate links, and some of the commissions there are better than Amazon. And I say all this to say that there's just so many ways to legitimately make passive income by creating value. Most people fail because they don't have the actual skill set required to create value, and they don't have systems that would let them duplicate the success they already have, so they're not scaling. They also probably suck at sales. So that becomes very important. And then they have less opportunities to benefit from all of this because they're not a great communicator. And so they don't have the capacity through speaking to help them cultivate and build a network that brings more opportunities for them to deliver on those skills, offer value, etc. So that's what it comes down to. Cool thing about software. I worked with a company both on the affiliate side, which I still do, and then on a sponsorship side called TubeBuddy. It's a software as a service thing for content creators. And it primarily, in my opinion, is a productivity suite of tools. I think the lowest thing is $5 a month is the lowest they have for the software product. And I think the highest paid plan is $50 a month. So it's between $5 and $50 a month. I was a super affiliate because I was one of the first affiliates for this. So I was getting a 50% commission on every sale I ever brought the company. And I brought the company about like 6,000 paying customers. Okay. So I did really well. At my peak for this software, I was probably earning like over $5,000 a month. Currently, it's closer to about $3,000, $3,500 on most months. So even from content and tutorials I made years ago, there's still new clients that come and get the software. They get, even if they get a free trial, if they convert to a paid trial, I make money. And the thing is, if it wasn't that people wanted to use the software, I wouldn't make any money. That's the other cool thing about software as a service or even physical product affiliate links. It's legitimate and it's not a scam because if someone refunds the product to Amazon, you don't get to keep the commission or it goes negative against you, whatever. So you don't make money if people don't keep and like the product they buy. If it's software and people cancel their subscription or they don't convert from a free trial to a paid version, you don't make any money. You only make money as long as people are happy with what they have and as long as they keep paying for it. So no bad thing happens to somebody in that scenario because people don't keep using software that they don't like or that they don't get value from. They cancel those subscriptions. So for me, I found that if I'm using software that I'm paying for every month, then other people will use that software at some point. They'll want to learn how to use it effectively. They'll want to know if it works for them. So my tutorial niche of content ended up being one of the best overall systems I could use to scale passive income by recommending and demonstrating the value of things I already was paying for and show people for years and years that I use those things and continue to use those things. That also gave me the capacity with showing my affiliate commissions and sales to be able to do sponsored content and make money online because then brands would want to work with me on both a sponsorship basis and I could be in their affiliate program, but I would have the leverage to negotiate a higher commission than whatever the public commission might be. Public commissions on a lot of these things, 20 to 30%. But if you can build authority or you can prove ROI, you can negotiate a higher rate. Same thing for brand deals. If you can prove ROI instead of reach, you can negotiate a higher rate. A lot of people don't understand, Roberto, how do you get brand deals and sponsorships and you don't get mega views, you don't go viral? It's that I can prove that I can deliver ROI as the company wants to define that ROI. And I'll talk about this in my brand deals for small influencers video. I have the ultimate guide on that. But a lot of people think that reach is the only thing that matters. Being able to represent the brand appropriately and be the relationship they need, the bridge to a target audience or market that they can't reach or don't have a lot of options to reach or don't have someone with the right story, the right authority, whatever it is, the ability to build that relationship. So that matters. So representation qualifies or disqualifies you from working with a brand. It qualifies and disqualifies who's appropriate to make a pitch and do a sale, to be honest with you, if you learn anything about salespersonship. And then the other thing is, you need a good reputation. A good reputation is important. If people find out that you've been in scandals or you're difficult to work with, you're in drama all the time, you're a diva, it doesn't go well for building long-term relationships and it makes it harder to do business. So those two things disqualify you before you ever have a conversation about your reach. And if it does come down to your reach and a brand has to choose between reach and you can prove ROI, proving ROI will matter more. The ability to do more sales with less reach would be in your favor instead of having more reach and less proportional sales, depending on the goals of the brand. In an awareness campaign, reach will matter more. In a sales campaign, obviously transactions matter more. So something to consider there. So you make passive income through content creation and ad revenue. If you have an audience and the right representation, you can do affiliate commissions and sales there. You can do that with physical products, or you can do that with software as a service. You could also do it with one-off digital products and downloads if you have the relationships for that. The other thing you could do with passive income is you could sell your own digital products. Now, everyone's mind already jumps to online courses. Most people are not qualified to sell online courses. Most people don't have 5 to 10 years of experience doing a thing and delivering results. Most people don't have a track record of producing and replicating the results. What I did was I went into one-on-one coaching and memberships when I decided I was going to teach content creators to duplicate my own success. So then I did that. I've coached somewhere between, I think it's almost 600 content creators now, and I've coached probably about 60 or more of them personally to either a silver or gold play button. So on YouTube, when you get to 100,000 subscribers, YouTube awards that creator with a play button award at 100,000 subscribers. So at 100,000, you get what's called a silver play button award. So with me, what happens is I have I've started this anyway. I've had my coaching clients order me and I'll pay for it and pay for the shipping, or we'll work something out where I'll do another call with them or something to where they'll send me a copy of their play button. And then YouTube also sends you this letter. I have mine framed in my office. I'm shooting here in my library that we built down here in the basement. And so I have clients that have gotten, a couple clients have gotten gold play buttons. And so this is an example of a client who got a gold play button for 1 million subscribers. And so YouTube sends you this. So this is the official legit YouTube play button for that. And again, once again, they send you an official letter for 1 million subscribers. So what I had to do is I had to be able to duplicate my success with clients one-on-one to kind of verify that my methods and my systems work and can be duplicated, because I felt like if you sell online courses without duplicating the results, you haven't really fully proven the system. But that's an aggressive metric that I use for qualifying the ability to sell online courses, which is why I also don't think online courses are for everybody. I also think that there are some people who don't learn best that way. Some people learn best from one-on-one, because that's like having a private tutor. And so anyone who's gone through the school system will understand this. The cool thing with online free content is it's basically public school, same way public school is free. However, one-on-one coaching works like hiring a private tutor. Group coaching or cohorts are the equivalent of being part of like a private group. So that could be either a cram school that you would pay for, or it would be going to a boot camp of some kind. So that's what communities and cohorts that are paywalled are, because yes, you could put together your own study group for free, but people might clown around and not take it seriously. The people who paid to be there, like you paid to be there, aren't going to mess around because they paid for it, their parents paid for it, so you better get that return on investment or else. So at least if you grew up like I did, you better get that return on investment or else. So that's what having immigrant parents is like. Now, so the analogy is that the free content online that everyone uses and learns that way is free public school education. It works best for people who are already smart and may not need as much help. Private tutoring with hands-on is for people who doesn't mean they're less smart, but it does mean that they have the need or would benefit from extra attention, and they might have a specific way that is best for them to learn, and they need someone who can teach that way. That person doesn't always have to be a teacher to be useful to you. It could be an upperclassman, and that's how private tutoring typically works. It's not the professor or teacher or someone who graduated. A lot of times it's just an upperclassman who's a bit ahead of you and can help you get to where you want to be, and might have a method that is going to make it easier for you because they themselves may not have been served by just what was in the classroom. So that's kind of the scenario here that I want to use. So online courses in this analogy are no different than buying a test prep guide or flashcards. My direction wasn't to move immediately into online courses. It's something that we've actually just started in my business very recently, and we have some higher level things we want to launch. For our digital products, though, we went with done for you products using my experiences in graphic design. And that was one of our first products, was a YouTube starter kit where I did over 100 Photoshop assets for things like YouTube thumbnails, YouTube channel artwork, because I noticed that a lot of people who were watching my videos and even people I did channel reviews for were just really bad at graphic design and really bad at packaging up their thumbnails. And not all of them could afford a thumbnail artist. They couldn't hire someone on Fiverr or Upwork. So they wouldn't have been people who would have even been graphic design clients of mine back in the day when I offered that. So what they needed was they needed something to start with that they could customize. Now, working in the industry, I used templates professionally all the time for different things as a starting point. Not the end all be all, but a starting point. And it's the same thing for other types of graphics. So you could do this with motion graphics. I have friends in photography who've done it with their LUTs and presets, like Peter McKinnon, for example. He's a friend who's done that successfully. Same thing for Matty Hapoya and a lot of other people. They've done those and packaged those digital downloads successfully. Maybe you've even bought some. There are other people who make things like sound packs and other things. So you can go with a digital download product that's not a course, and you could scale that. And you could just sell it to a very specific market. There are a lot of online marketplaces that will let you do this. A popular one for a lot of people is Gumroad. I learned from the YouTube model that I don't love splitting percentages. I'd rather pay for web hosting, an industry I came from, and I'd rather just sell directly to my audience. So for that, I use Kajabi. I'm also an affiliate of theirs. I also partnered with them. So those are just some of the full disclosures. I still pay for the product, but I sell all my stuff online through Kajabi because it's direct digital downloads. I get to keep all the money. For those of you not familiar with YouTube, if you were to sell courses on YouTube, because YouTube now offers that, it's a 70-30 split. So you get 70%, platform gets 30%, and then out of that 70%, you get to pay those lovely 20 to 30% income taxes on it. So you have even less of the money. So you're welcome. So I'd rather keep 90% of the money and then give the IRS their pound of flesh. So that was just kind of the direction I decided to go in. YouTube on the ad revenue, of course, 55 for you, 45 for the platform. Then you get to split that 55% with the IRS. So you're getting less of it again. So back down to a third of your actual value. So you're welcome. Still going to be better for some of you than getting less than 1% of the value you create for your employer when you can get to that point. What I'm getting at here and what I'm trying to communicate to you is that when it comes to digital download products, there's a variety, probably like 15 really solid ones that actually make real money because it's a done for you service that closes the skill gap between the buyer and seller. Most of you probably are not good at animation and wouldn't be able to do After Effects, but you would be able to watch a 10-20 minute tutorial and be able to edit a really great After Effects template if you were shown how, and then can get the result you want to make your videos look better or to do that client project you need to do. In that scenario, it is worth it for you to pay like $100 and get 50 After Effects files for $100 that you can edit and reuse in your projects. It is worth it for you if you're a monetized YouTube channel to pay $100 one time and get 100 Photoshop templates that you can use for your thumbnails. So that's the model that I went with when it came to digital products. Eventually, we went to info products that weren't quite courses, like my brand deal starter kit that has a bunch of assets for people who want to do sponsored content and UGC. So we have some info product things in there like the PDFs and the Excel documents, but we also have done for you things like the email swipe files to write the email outreach for you to the brands. And then we have things like the PDFs that tell you the red flags so you know that you are not getting scammed in a brand deal negotiation or that it's a fake brand. We also have other things like the media kit templates you can edit in Photoshop so you can present and pitch to the brands, because I found that the generated media kits on websites including YouTube just weren't cutting it, and it's better to be able to tell your own story in your own packaging and with your own style and your own photos, obviously, and that will go a long way when you can customize it to just represent you better and to have a more on-brand look and feel for you pitching. So that was, and to get context that you can't just get from public stats. You want to give context on your numbers. So that was something that we developed as a $99 product, and those things have done very well. So for me, the scale into passive income was a vending machine model where someone can put money in and get exactly the thing they want out. That's all passive income is. And what you can say about that is automated income, because that's just how an automation is. Okay, here's the input, here's the output. Now, the thing that makes it passive is the work is already done, quite literally. The product already exists. It has, as a digital product, unlimited inventory, and the distribution mechanism is automated by a series of technology systems that deliver for the customer. It captures the revenue from me, it delivers the product to the customer. It's all seamless without either of us really having to do a lot of work or requiring a human intervention or interaction to take place. That's why we call it passive or automated, because the transaction is automated in nature and everything else happens in the background, aka passively. For those of you who are gamers, it's an automatic trigger ability. It's an ability that happens when a condition is triggered in the game and you don't have to do anything to trigger that ability. It's like having auto cast for those of you who are gamers. It's basically having an auto cast with no cost. The reason that this works is if you're familiar with other forms of passive income that have already existed, like music, for example, is if you have an audience and that audience buys your music online, you as the artist might have written, sung, and performed that song 5-10 years ago, and you can still make money off of it today because a system exists to handle all of that for you in the background. The money is showing up in your bank account. It's the same thing for the book royalties. And so that's something that people can do. With YouTube and with music streaming, however, music streaming is another one, is that there's not an upfront cost to the customer other than time and participation. If you had an audience that would support you as a musician, if you had enough music tracks for people to be binging and listening to every day, and you had even an audience of, let's say, 20,000, 50,000 listeners a month, if they were listening to your content enough, you could get the 20 million streams a year you need to make $100,000 a year. It's 20 million streams on average, assuming you own all the royalties, assuming you don't have to cut a deal with a record label. If you were an indie and you own everything as an independent musician, it's about 20 to 25 million streams across all the different streaming services. So Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, Tidal, all of them. If you own everything, then, and I ran this through several calculators to get this number, so I verified it with multiple online calculators. As long as you own everything, it'd be about 20 to 25 million streams in aggregate. The lowest paying one, I believe, might be YouTube Music, might be one of the lowest paying ones, along with Amazon Music. I think those are the two lowest paying ones. I think that Apple and Spotify might pay the best, aside from Tidal. So I'll probably do a video about that, to be honest with you. But when you have that, it costs your audience $0, but you're still making money from the streaming royalties at that point. And it's the same thing with YouTube. You're still making money. So when you get millions of views, millions of listens, that's passive income for that reason. And there's not an upfront transaction for the audience. Books, ebooks, digital downloads, physical music sales, digital products, digital courses, those are passive income, transactional in that way. Affiliate commissions is a transaction that you're facilitating and you're getting a cut of that same kind of transactional sale. Physical e-commerce, print on demand, if you sell merch, hoodies, hats, t-shirts, other printables, posters, stickers, I've done that. The margin on that is very similar to books, believe it or not. Just depends on what kind of audience you have, whether they prefer a book versus a t-shirt or hoodie, depends. Thought leader, you're going to sell books better. Influencer, you're going to sell merchandise better. I've done an entire video on how much money you actually make from print on demand, t-shirts, and merchandise, and what the margins are and how you go about that. I'll link to that video in the description of this one. But what I will tell you either way is that these things work in proportion to your ability to actually practice good salesmanship and your ability to actually scale the amount of traffic that you can drive. That's what it really comes down to. Traffic, trust, transaction. The flywheel we talked about earlier, the creator flywheel that we always will talk about, will basically come down to traffic, trust, and transaction. That's how online businesses work. When it comes to my online coaching business, in about 6 years, I've generated about $640,000 in online business revenue, gross revenue, with the Kajabi platform doing that. So I think that that's actually really good, considering I wasn't doing that selling $500 online courses yet. I think that when we do that, we'll double the annual revenue on that, and we'll go to like $300,000 a year in revenue or something when we do that. The main component of that was group coaching memberships, one-on-one coaching, and also the digital downloads. The overwhelming majority of this income probably is attributable to the membership group, and the monthly recurring revenue from that is about $5,000 a month. Now, there is churn on that, but again, I've been able to maintain that pretty well and to grow it. And what I would say about that is, again, if people are not happy with a membership, they cancel it. So if you want to be someone who makes money from a subscription model or memberships, the revenue model for that is dependent on retention and not just acquisition. So churn, or people leaving and therefore not paying you anymore, will be the thing you have to counter against. Retention means that people have to feel satisfied with what they're getting. They also, if it does require participation, my membership has 2 times a week office hours, which is one of the best values for it. And that's why right now, the cost is what it is. But the reason that people might leave is if you have a live component and it doesn't work for their time zone, it doesn't work for the availability they have kids, they have work, it's something like that, you will have higher churn even if people are satisfied with the product and service. If they don't have the ability to make room for it in their life, you will have churn based on that too. If you offer a membership that has a live component, when you can afford it, you might want to hire people who have more availability so that you can have coverage for different time zones, especially if you have an international audience that's funneling into your business. So that becomes important. For your own digital products, things like closed captioning and things that can have the auto translations and localization will become important for your business. In the future, we'll probably have seamless automatic dubbing that will help people scale this as well. The big barrier there will be whether or not people can afford it based on the difference in cost of living where they are versus where you are. So that will be something to think about as far as the near future with the way technology is going. One of the better opportunities with subscriptions and memberships is the cross sales opportunity, not necessarily upsales, but cross sales opportunity, and the ability for people to decide that they want some. There's actually down sales opportunities too. People can actually buy a lower cost item as an add on. So that ends up working. So you have the ability, even people, especially people who are happy with a membership or subscription, when you have another offer, or if you offer them a members only discount on either a product or a service, a lot of them will be able to be cross sold into another product or service if their membership allows them to get it at a significant discount. One of the reasons that part of my system is using Kajabi as part of my tech stack is because for me, it's going to make all of these things seamless. If you're interested, I'll leave one of my affiliate links, literally practicing what I'm preaching, in the description of this. It's just what I prefer to use, and it's worked for me for 6 years, for me and my team. What I will say is that from a practical standpoint, I feel that one of the most important aspects of building an online business is to have your own customer database, which Kajabi does, and your own email list functionality. And for that, I use a combination of Kajabi and ConvertKit. If I only had Awesome Creator Academy, my online coaching business, I would only need to use Kajabi. However, because I have a personal brand and I have a lot of other things floating around, I actually use ConvertKit because it has my master list, and I can also segment that into other aggregate smaller lists. The other thing that the email list and newsletter opportunity offers me that a lot of people don't realize is when you have a niche specific industry and you collect somewhere between 10,000 and 20,000 emails. We're almost up to 15,000 for mine because I started focusing it on again. I churned and purged like half of the inactive, half the emails overall that I just felt were cold or inactive. Anyone who didn't interact in a 90-day period, I removed them from the list. So we cut that into half, and that put us at 7,000. Then we gained back over the last couple of months of effort another 7,000 of qualified active leads that stay active. So now we get 50 to 60% open rates on every email. When you get to that kind of point where you have 10,000 to 20,000 emails and you get 50 to 60% open rates and you email regularly, you can have sponsorship for your emails. So you can have sponsorship and brand deals for your emails. And if it's a specialized group of people that the brand wants to reach with those kind of open rates, you can charge good money for that. You could probably get a package that you put together that could get you $1,000 a month per sponsor for being on some of those emails, just on how you package it up. So this could be very lucrative for you just to grow an email list. A lot of creators don't realize this. And specifically with ConvertKit, I'll also link this. I'll link my whole tech stack. And there'll probably be affiliate links for all of them. I'll link my whole tech stack in the description of my video. But with ConvertKit, you also have ad revenue that you can earn. You can earn referral revenue for growing other people's email list through their creator network. Your audience grows through the creator network as well from other people referring you, whether you pay or not for referrals. So you have that opportunity. You can have digital downloads tied directly to ConvertKit with ConvertKit Commerce. So that's another passive income opportunity. So you got referral passive income, you got ad revenue passive income, you have the digital download through the commerce side. You could have a paid subscription tier of your email list that goes to a segment of people that just want a paid version that could be something exclusive that you offer. So you have that opportunity. So that'd be passive and recurring. And then you also have a tip jar feature. So you have 5 direct ways to monetize there. And then with sponsors with ConvertKit, they have a sponsorship network that if you have 10,000 people on your list, you could apply to the sponsorship network, or you could just broker your own sponsorship. So you have 5 ways to make money directly from your email newsletter there. That's not including putting affiliate links for either physical or digital SaaS products or whatever in your emails. And that's not counting your ability to directly market your own services if you have a service-based business, a membership, or a coaching business. So probably need to make a video on 10 ways to monetize your email newsletter, because that'd probably be worth covering for you guys in some kind of detail. So probably like a 10 or 12-minute video on that probably be a really great idea. The point is, it's so important to have and own your own email database and your own email list, because those things can go with you. Whatever systems, whatever platforms you use, something not controlled by an algorithm that makes you a digital sharecropper in somebody else's company. So that becomes incredibly vital. So having those relationships and owning your list, owning your leads, owning your customer database becomes incredibly important in terms of the systems that you use. Having different payment portals and payment processors is also important, because you need a way to capture funds and to be able to do that reliably. Primarily for most of us, that's going to be PayPal and Stripe. And yeah, that's just how it is, because for online business, that's going to be the majority of it. Same thing for capturing your affiliate commissions. A lot of it is not going to do direct deposit. Some of it will be PayPal and Stripe. One of the advantage of these payment processors is you can directly, without a credit check, borrow money if you have enough money coming in, and you can get business loans directly through those platforms as payment processors. So for PayPal, it's PayPal Working Capital, and for Stripe, it's Stripe Capital. And so they'll give you their own terms. You can decide whether you think those terms are better than going to a traditional bank or what have you. But if you don't have a traditional banking relationship or a strong one, but you do have money and revenue and sales coming in, both Stripe and PayPal will offer you loans with terms where paying it back comes out of a percentage of the revenue they are processing for you. So you won't even see it directly. And so that is something that might benefit you if for some reason you need extra capital for your business for one reason or another. I thought that was important, because as long as I'm doing an info dump on all of the lessons and things I've learned over doing online business for over a decade, that could be an important one, because some of you tell me the reason you can't do things is capital. But if you do generate sales and you do have a payment processor, most of your payment processors, whether it's authorized.net, Stripe, or PayPal, will give you financing based on sales and will just take it out of future revenue, take a percentage. That percentage could be anywhere from 10 to 20% of every transaction they do for you. So it just depends on what terms you're able to get and agree with based on how much money you're bringing in. When it comes to scaling your business and getting your life back, one of the most important things is the capacity to hire. And most opportunities do go to people who are in your network. And most people, that's going to be actually a good thing, because if an opportunity comes through your network, someone else has already done the vetting for you. Somebody's vouching here. And the other person wants to do a good job because they don't want to lose future opportunities or damage the reputation in the network that they already have, because that could cost them further opportunities or get them into exile, and they lose all their clients anyway. So that would be something that I think is important to talk about here. And so I learned this by working in the industry and by building up a reputation and being a one-person business owner, an agency of one, doing contract and freelance work, but also working in corporate America. And the networking relationships that you build become important. It's important to always do hard work, even when you feel you aren't being paid right or underpaid. The problem is everything you do represents you. So the thing is, it's better for you to be the person who keeps and has a good reputation. And for that person who's not doing the right thing, let them have a bad reputation all by themselves. Don't join them. It sounds bad. It sounds like you can get ripped off or exploited, but there's not really a downside. Just doing the best job you can and just keeping your nose clean and having good standards and not letting other people corrupt you with their bad habits and their bad standards. Maintain an air of professionalism at all times. Maintain a standard of work that's about you and has nothing to do with how other people behave. That, I think, is solid advice in general for life. That's why giving your best effort matters a lot. I know a lot of people like to say cute things like quiet quitting or work your wage. I might sound like a boomer, even though I'm only 40, and saying I don't believe in any of that stuff, because I just don't believe in cultivating or entertaining bad habits, because your habits ultimately, as far as I'm concerned, determine your destiny. Once you go down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. That's my really not great impression of Yoda, but I digress. The point is, when it comes to hiring people, If you don't have a network to pull from, you're going to take some initial risk in hiring your freelancers and contractors. If you can't hire family or people in your network, you're just going to end with freelancers, usually from X.com, formerly Twitter, Fiverr, or Upwork, or onlinejobs.ph. These are usually, or if you're in the content creator community, ytjobs.co. These are places where people tend to source their freelancers if you didn't know. I'll probably make a video on the best 15 sites to hire freelancers. So what I used to do myself was I did actually use some of these sites didn't exist when I was coming up. For example, Upwork didn't exist. It was Elance and Odesk. I worked on both of those. They later merged and became Upwork. So that's how old I am, right? Back in my day, there was no Upwork. Back in my day, there was no Fiverr. So yeah. So we had freelancer.com. We had something peopleperhour.com. We had all these different websites. So when you're hiring freelancers and contractors, one, you want to do everything above board, and you want to have your own contracts in place through DocuSign. You might want to, if you have enough money and you have your LLC established, you might want to set up a HR portal. I use Gusto. I'll link to that in my tech stack. I use Gusto, and you can do your contractors, but you could also do your W-2 employees if you end up hiring people. Highly recommend it if you end up hiring family members. You can put everything you need in there. You get contracts. You also can put your, what would you call it? Your employee handbook in there. You can put your employee handbook in there, the non-disclosure agreements, everything. So that's actually really cool, and you get a confirmation email that they agreed and signed it. If you need to hire contractors, you can use Adobe Sign. If you have an Adobe subscription, you could do that. You could always get a DocuSign subscription or use the free version to do your contracts. You could do that. And so you want these contracts in place so that everybody has an understanding of what they're doing. Obviously, if you're using platforms like Fiverr and Upwork, this stuff is handled on the back end through their systems. But if you're doing it yourself, you want to make sure you have these things in place and that you're organizing your contracts, that you print them out, that you have everything above board so that there's no surprises, there's no expectations that people are not having met. The other thing you want to do is you want to have the capacity to track and receive payments in place. A lot of people will just invoice via Stripe or PayPal, and that usually turns out fine. I don't necessarily recommend just Venmoing people or Cash Apping people. A lot of people get screwed over doing that. So you really want to have some kind of better chain of custody with that. That's why most people will use PayPal and Stripe for transaction of business like this. Even with brand deals, a lot of it will be done that way. One of the benefits I find of using Gusto is that when tax time comes, my freelancers will get a 1099 form that directly mails out with everything properly tracked for the IRS. For my employees, which in my case are friends and family, W-2s go out just like every other business. Now, this is because I have an LLC in place. That's something you'll want to do. If you're doing something as a one-person business, I recommend still getting an LLC. If you're an online influencer and you kind of want to protect your privacy, you're not ready for an LLC, consider getting a doing business as a DBA so you can be paid in your stage name, so you can maintain anonymity and privacy, and you can have a stage name and have a DBA and then have a business bank account tied to that, so that for tax purposes, still not piercing the corporate veil, all those things. If you watch my video, if you're an influencer, watch my video on YouTube taxes. It's an oldie but goodie, and it was something that I did in partnership with TurboTax and their accountants and CPAs, so I had the information qualified by them before I released the video. So I would say it's a really good video. I probably need to do an update to that video and cover some more things, but I think that'll be helpful for a lot of you if you're going that content creator influencer route. It could still help a lot of you if you're going to be a freelancer independent contractor, because there's a lot of crossover there. Content creators are 1099s. They're not traditional employees. They don't get benefits. They don't get health care. They don't get any of those things. If you work for, or rather work on a content platform like YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, you're a 1099 independent contractor. This is business to business. You are not an employee. They are not your employer. They're not your boss. It can feel like it, but you have none of the protections as an employee, and you have none of the employee benefits. You are, for all intents and purposes, a business owner, and you should probably act like one. It's the employee habits that mess people up. Employee habits and employee expectations. When you're hiring people, I would say hiring for trust when you can is more important than talent. At least when it comes to part-time and full-time employees, they're going to have access to privileged information, have access to more of your time and more of your energy. For one-off, one project or once in a while project freelancers, you can hire for talent, but you should still try to get a sense of trustworthiness and reliability. This is where it becomes important to read the reviews on them, maybe even do some background research on their online handle, and just try to get a sense of who they might be as a person, if it is important or if it was urgent that this work be done in a specific way, or that there's going to be important privileged information that they're going to have access to. For those of you who are going to do freelance work, I've literally made like over 100 videos specifically on being a freelancer. Some of them are a little older, but the principles behind them still work to this day. I've been debating for a long time now, just making a dedicated channel, dumping all of my knowledge focused around freelancers. I'll probably at a minimum do some updated videos on my main YouTube channel before I even think about that and see how people respond. But I think it's something that is important to understand, is that if you're a freelancer, it's your job to eliminate risk for your clients and to demonstrate that you are someone who is trustworthy in addition to being someone who is talented. And I think you also have to be someone who demonstrates that they also have the right technical abilities. So I also think it's very important to show that you pay attention to detail and that you have your own systems and processes in place for doing something. I think that in some regards, your tech stack doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you use this software or that software, unless the client has a reason it has to be that way. And if it is, do not argue with them. If anything, and you don't qualify for an opportunity, this works if you're a business owner too. If you don't qualify for an opportunity, refer them to someone who does, and then either have that relationship result in you being owed two favors: the person referring and the person who gets the referral. Those are two favors you get to have if it works out and you referred them to the right person and a great relationship is built. It's kind of like introducing someone to their husband or wife. You know, they both owe you. So you could think of it in that way, or you could commodify that. You could take referral fees from people in terms of, hey, I may not be a good fit for you, but if I source this job for you, could I get a commission of some kind for finding you a great vendor? And then some people are like, oh yeah, that's fantastic. Yes, please. I've struggled with this. It's wasting my time. It's wasting money. And every day that I don't fill this role, it's a problem. And so then on the other side, hey, if I get you a client and it works out and it's a wonderful client, could I get a commission for that, for, sourcing a lead for you, getting you a prospect? Oh, absolutely. I would love that. I'd rather get, 90 or 80% of some money than 100% of zero money. Bring me clients. I'll pay you a commission. So you could basically get referral income by being a super connector in a network. And this works for you as a service provider. If you have other people there, your peers, and you don't see them as your competition, and you say, I need someone to handle overflow work so that when I, am in a position where I can't deliver, there's somebody I can recommend that will also do me the same courtesy, and we could do business together. You could either do that to where you do business together like that, and you could take zero in commissions, but know that you will always be able to get clients because you're part of someone's overflow, and vice versa. Or you could go to the referral model, or you could have both. You could have some people who are this $0 transactional relationship where it's just you cover each other's overflow and you take each other's client waiting list on, and then you're able to keep all the money and everyone just knows that, hey, they're not, losing out on business to someone who they don't like or who's going to snake them, And then there's the other model of where it can be purely kind of transactional to where you're getting referral fees. So that is another opportunity that people do not understand exist, both on the freelance and contractor side, but also on the business owner vendor side. So that's something to just kind of keep in mind. At a higher level of being an influencer, someone could do it with brand relationships, but that's a video for another day. I know this was an extremely long info dump without a lot of fancy editing. But hopefully, this is for you invaluable knowledge that's going to help you be successful. I wanted to info dump, somewhere between 12 to 20 years of hard earned and hard learned experiences that I would say over my lifetime has made millions of dollars for me by now. Again, it is the point where I have an over $300,000 a year income. I've been doing this very long. I've been successful at six-figure levels since I was 32 and I just turned 40. So I've probably been making six figures for about 8 years now. So you can kind of figure out some of the math scale on that. It's been something that I wouldn't say was easy, but it would have been made easier if I had been pointed in the right direction. Nothing can make up for the gap in experience. It's very hard to make up for a gap in resources. It's near impossible to make up for a lack of a network. But just having some knowledge of where to start does go a long way, and hopefully I provide you with that. If you enjoyed this video, make sure that you're subscribing and checking out the other content here on my channel, maybe something from the links in the description or the video that I'm going to put up on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Stay awesome, and I'll catch you in another video. Take care.